You're listening to a TGM production. Hello and welcome back to Joking Apart. Woohoo! The podcast where, well, obviously I tried to beat Stuart Goldsmith in a comical way. Because if I did try and beat Stuart Goldsmith, that would be an impossible journey because he's been doing it a lot longer than I have. And he's taller than me, so he probably would beat me to a pulp. But that is comedy for you. Now, with obviously funness ahead. Now, we shall crack on because the dictionary has failed me this evening, this day. We shall crack on. My guest today is best known for appearing on the current series of the revival of The Traitors New Zealand, or if you see it written down, NZ, because no one's got enough time to write the word New Zealand. It's one and only Maria Williams.
Hey, kia
So,
ora. Thanks for having me.
so we shall start at the very beginning because Julie Andrews once said it was a good place to start, and as
hmm
of right this second, she's not been wrong, but who knows? How did you get into the wonderful world I like to call ha 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 comedy?
Wow, very good question. Um, I was going to a lot of comedy shows.
Mm.
I was already in theatre and I was going to a lot of comedy shows. And I actually went along to a few comedy shows where it was a whole, I remember I actually went on a date to a comedy show and it was a complete lineup of men. It was 10 men on stage. And the quality wasn't the best. It was a raw, I don't know. I think you do this in the UK too. We have like raw competition,
Yeah.
so it's a lot of people starting up for the first time, or they're in the first 2 years of starting comedy, and they do a raw competition.
Mm.
And I watched 10 men in a row go, and I went, I reckon I'd be better than that. So that's what got me in. And so the next year I signed up to do the raw competition. And I dressed up as Jesus, but performed as Lord the singer, which was really dumb.
Wow.
And yet I still do it to this day every now and again, because for whatever reason, I go places and people say, okay, we want you on this gig, but we want you to perform as Lord. So I do a lot of Lord impressions
Wow.
mainly. Yeah.
Wow. Well, at least you've got a niche. But you mentioned there about going on a date at a comedy gig. Now the thing that always surprises me about that is sometimes in natural settings it works, but I've seen, I can't remember what it was now, but there's a night in Scotland where a woman who's obviously she's there to find love gets on stage and does a date in front of the audience. And so the
Oh,
audience, but she never met this bloke before. So this bloke, who's also looking
yeah.
for love, is in the audience. So she's volunteered this, and so the bloke that runs the night is trying to keep it flowing, and they've got food in
Mm.
front of them. They've got a mini table, and the audience literally staring at them whilst they're trying to introduce each other. They've never met until that second. I think
Mm.
that's the worst place to have a date, which is on stage in front of 20 other Scottish people going, I'm really into you, mate. It'd be awkward. But
Yeah.
when you go to those comedy nights, do you th do you think when you think, oh, I could do better than that, is it because you think their jokes are terrible, or do you think it's because you've secretly got a desire to do it, but you didn't think you could do it until you saw a really bad man trying to tell a joke?
Well, I think I knew because of theatre, I knew I
Yeah,
had stage presence,
yeah,
and I knew I had confidence. And so, honestly, you're kind of halfway there.
yeah,
I don't know if I have jokes. I still don't know if I have jokes, but I have the stage presence to pull it off.
yeah.
And also, the other thing is, as I'm sure you're aware, because you've had both my brothers on your podcast, your video. Is it a podcast? Or is it a YouTube series? You've
Well,
had both my brothers anyway.
yeah, they were podcasts. This is a podcast. Not everything I do is a podcast, even though people assume it is. This, and the Taskmaster World, the podcast is a podcast, so you're allowed to say
Oh,
podcast for
nice.
that. So that's fine.
Gorge, gorge. All I know is you've had both my brothers, and I'm also the middle child. And so when I see my brothers jumping on doing something, it's usually I want to do it too, and I want to do it better. I'm not doing it better yet, but well, it depends who you ask.
Yeah.
If you ask my mum, she might say I'm doing it better, but but no, I yeah, so I'm the middle child and I tend to get FOMO from I see my brothers up on stage having fun and I go, I want to be up there too. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all you need to do is try and interview someone that is better than a wizard. Um, 'Cause then you've trumped Guy Williams because for anyone that doesn't know, he interviewed a wizard, who you can probably clarify that before what I can gather had a British accent. He didn't really seem like he was from New Zealand. That was the bit that confused me.
Yeah, I wonder he might be. I mean, there are a lot of New Zealanders who were born in Britain.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's one of them, but yes, he's definitely an interesting
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
Yes, for some reason Christchurch had an official wizard. I don't know if he's still employed as the wizard.
Uh,
I think he might have some controversial
yeah.
views. So I think everyone used to find him fun and funny. But now I think the city of Christchurch is trying to distance themselves from
Yeah.
him. So yeah,
I just hope that at some point in his life he played Dungeons and Dragons as a not as wizard, as a warlock, because obviously a warlock's better than a wizard.
hopefully.
I would just
Yeah.
think that would just be brilliant. Just, oh, where are you going to now? I'm going to play D&D with the wizard. All right, okay. Right, great. Not weird at all. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot better than having an effigy of like well Guy Fawkes burning him. A wizard is a lot more sensible than that. Um,
True.
yes. So when you eventually got into the stride of comedy where you were going regularly, because that's the way I'm going to word that. What was the comedy circuit like at the time you started, and you were obviously on with a lot of like regulars, if you will, so you saw like a similar set of people.
Okay, good question. I think I started comedy in Wellington, which is the capital city of New Zealand, but
Yeah,
isn't the main city in terms of comedy.
yeah,
I think it used to be when my older brother Guy started,
yeah,
but due to TV basically, and there's a well-known comedy TV show in New Zealand called 7 Days.
yeah,
And that started, and there was like a mass exodus from his generation of comedians moving from Wellington to Auckland.
yeah,
And there still is a bit of a, it's not as big as that exodus, but there's
yeah,
still regularly comedians moving up to Auckland because that's where the ads and the TV
yeah,
and the, that scene is.
yeah,
That scene's getting a lot smaller, unfortunately.
mm,
We're losing a lot of TV shows and a lot
mm,
of funding and such, which
yeah,
is, I think, a pretty international trend.
yes, yeah,
But so the scene in Wellington at the time is pretty much how it is now, which is a small but friendly scene.
yeah,
A lot of really enthusiastic people, and it's a lot of, I would say, the comedy scene in Wellington is very quirky, and
mm,
I'm quirky, and Auckland is quite more, I would say, more stand-up
yeah,
focused. People are more traditional stand-ups. Whereas in Wellington, like I myself describe myself as like a theatrical comedy
yeah,
comedian. There's more kind of clowns and cabaret comedians and kind of alternative
yeah,
comedy in Wellington. Yeah.
yeah. And I would say Wellington's got a lot of paranormal activity.
Well, there you go. Yep, that too.
Yeah. What what an
Lots
awful
of
joke.
weirdos.
Yeah,
Just lots of weirdos in Wellington.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously the joke there for anyone that doesn't realise, there's a program called Wellington Paranormal. That's 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 the gag. It is available. I think it's available on Sky Comedy. Um, it's one
Great,
of
a
those
great
programs
show.
that everyone needs to know about. Because
Yes.
it's a spin-off from the film of What Do We Do in the Shadows, and it's just it's just incredible because it's
Mm.
what where else in the world? Well, you probably want to have something as equally as stupid in Britain.
And
Um,
it's a lot. It's got a lot of our lead comedians like Jermaine Clement from
yeah,
Flight of the Conchords and Melanie Bracewell wrote on it, and Karen O'Leary and other great comedians star in it as well. So yeah, it's
yeah.
a great New Zealand comedy show.
Yeah, and you mentioned the world of telly shrinking in comedy terms, and you mentioned there the incredible 7 Days, which is how I describe it as the New Zealand version of Mock the Week.
Yeah,
But technically,
exactly.
if you Google it, technically nowhere does it actually say that the format is the same. So technically, you can't say that. But if you want to know the gist
Yeah.
of it, you can. Because it
Yeah, there's
outlives.
an Australian one too. I think like, many countries have
Yeah,
that format,
yeah,
right? Mock the Week. I'm trying to remember. I used to live in Australia and there was one there too
yeah,
that was I enjoyed, but yeah, can't remember what it's
yeah,
called.
yeah,
Good News Week? Is yours Mock the Week? Maybe this is Good News Week?
yeah. Well, we
I don't know.
ours is mock the week because obviously they take the Mickey out the week,
Mm.
and yeah, yeah. Well, in Australia, the people that made Mock the Week, who also made Who Landed It Anyway, made worked on the Australian version of Who Landed It Anyway. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
to keep that trend,
Cool.
because obviously they love improv. They're improv people.
Yeah, and they've now got they've got Have You Been Paying Attention in
Yeah,
Australia, which is also like a news comedy show.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was in New Zealand for a while. Unfortunately, that got cancelled. And there's also, do you know the show have Thank God You're Here?
Yes, I
You
do.
heard of that? Yeah.
It's one of those programs that you wish it was available in the UK so more people could see it because it is incredible. We had a UK version for a very small while with Paul Merton hosted it and Hamish Blake was the
Oh,
regular
cool.
that he was just wondering. It wasn't as popular,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They
but
tried to make it work. Yeah,
they
it's
tried
very
to make it.
popular
Yeah,
in
it,
Australia. And actually, I was obsessed with it when I was a
yeah,
teenager. So it was on when I was a teenager, like 20 years
yeah,
ago. And they brought it back, which is really cool.
yeah. Because
Mm.
I just love the idea of just walking into a situation where you're the only one that doesn't know what's going on, and
Yeah,
it adds to it. It showcases that improv can work in a
yeah.
telly setting that isn't just Who's Line Is It Anyway, which works in itself, but that works in a sense of oh, it really does work, and all the bits where Adam Hills did it,
Mm.
it just adds to it because it's like that is even better than I could have imagined. But the
Mm.
only issue you've got with that show before we move on is that because it's got a similar name to there's a video game that I never know how you even spell it because there might be the odd word different. That's like a comedy cartoon video game, but it's got a very similar name to that show. So when you try and look up that, you then trapped in a rabbit hole of that going, I wasn't really looking for that, but now I want to know more. And then 4 hours later, you forgot what you were originally Googling, and now you've got the Australian accent. Um, because
Yeah, it's a great though, and actually it's got some of Australians leading improvisers are
yeah,
also on it too. So it's great for the improv community as well. Because yeah, I know some of the improvisers on there.
yeah,
Because I also do improv. I don't like to admit it, but I am also an improviser. And so yes, and some of the improvisers have been one of the guys I know, Jason, was
mm,
on it originally in 2005 or whatever, and he's back on it again. So which
yeah,
is really cool.
yeah.
Mm.
And whilst we're on this topic, and I'll definitely move on in a minute. For anyone that wants to watch more brilliant Australian comedy, watch Utopia, or I think it's some countries call it Dreamland. In the UK, we call it Utopia, and it's on Comedy Central because well, the BBC didn't want it, and obviously the program's made for no adverts, so you have to watch with adverts on Comedy Central. Uh,
Ah, right.
yeah, and because the AB, I know a lot about this, and I won't go on, but the ABC is no adverts, and the BBC is no adverts, so it makes no sense for
Oh,
Comedy Central to air it when the BBC could air it, so that there was no adverts. Um,
oh, mm.
that's a little bit of an insight that no one needed. And we shall move on now. one of the things that you've appeared on that recently there's a New Zealand version and an Australian version. The Australian version appeared on BBC Three here in the UK without any promotion, and I remember Guy Montgomery begging on social media to get
Mm.
BBC Three to tag him in it, and they weren't playing ball, and
Oh.
he was moaning about it because he wanted them to know that it was him, and no one wanted. It was a complicated thing, but no one knew it was on, so he just randomly they added it onto the BBC iPod just randomly one day, and you could watch all the episodes. Um,
Mm.
at some point you could think you're in a horror film because the music's very much late at night. You're probably gonna have nightmares type music because it's a little bit more gentle. It's not the theme tune like doo, 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 and you're a little bit you could think you're in another world. But what was it like appearing on an episode of the uh well, I'm gonna say New Zealand, I could be wrong on that one, on the brilliant panel show that is definitely a panel show, Guy Montgomery's Spelling Bee.
Oh, incredible. What a great show. It's so, I mean, I was terrified because
Yeah.
that was only my second time on TV and my first time was with my whole family. And so suddenly I was on by myself with people I didn't know. And so I was terrified and like not at all prepared.
Yeah.
But what a fun, awesome, silly show. I think he's just absolutely nailed it. It's so, so, so funny. And he started that, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure you know, he
Yeah.
started on Zoom, like
He
just as a
did.
silly, and then he would do live shows in New
Mm.
Zealand. And they were so funny. And I really love when they
Yeah.
pick someone out of the audience and try and spell their name. And it just can be such hilarious. Like I remember the night I saw it, somebody had like a long Welsh name, you know,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is so challenging.
Yeah.
And we're not that familiar with many Welsh names in New Zealand. So
Yeah. Neither are we.
yeah, and it just so funny and yeah, silly and stupid, and it frustrates you, but
Yeah.
it's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was awesome getting going on that. Yeah, I'm really grateful. That was a awesome opportunity. I just wish I was better at spelling. And I think famously I got mocked because I was I was teaching and it was on and I was teaching at school the next day. And kids were like, was that you? Because I'd go by, my teacher name was actually Miss Jones.
Yeah.
But obviously it came up and they said Maria Williams and some of them didn't know my first name and they were like, Miss, was that you on
Yeah.
TV? And
Yeah.
then they were like, how can you not spell tomb? Because I think I spelled tomb THOMB, but you know,
Wow.
when you're panicking,
Yeah.
I need to write things down to spell them is what I learned
Yeah.
basically when I went on
Yeah.
that show. I thought I was a good speller until I went on that show and spelt thomb instead of tomb,
Yeah.
which I got mocked for by 13-year-olds. So, and that's honestly fair because that's probably, and probably 8-year-olds can spell tomb. So that's on me.
Well, the kids probably were a little bit shocked because all children think, apart from me, because I've got Commenton, think that teachers live in the school.
Yeah.
The staff room's their dormitory.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think they were confused too because they're like, you were here today, but last night you were in a film studio. And I said, no, that was ages ago. We
yeah,
did that. That wasn't live.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that the show itself, which I wrote a bit about it in a segment of a Substack article I wrote about panel shows because I am that type of person. Where I wrote about the mixture of shows was British TV shows, which panel shows on radio, such as One Might Find This Helpful about bad reviews, to the Swedish version of QI. So it was a collective mix of panel shows, and I think that what's interesting about Guy Montgomery Spelling Bee is that I watched one of the early online shows he did where Rose
Mm,
Battle was on it, and you can tell from there that the format really does work. I think put it on TV, added the assistant in the corner, depending on what
mm,
version you're watching or what series you're watching, there's a different person each time. Because
mm,
obviously in Australia it was uh, Aaron Chen, and now it's Sam Campbell, and
mm,
then it was someone else in New Zealand. and I think
Sanjay. Mm.
that's it. And I think it showcases that the show works. Now, when you mentioned earlier about having them trying to spell someone's name, I think what makes that funnier is that, and you definitely know this, but in New Zealand there's a lot of like indigenous names that are
Mm.
there was one, and I've never ever said it out loud because I daren't pronounce it, but there's a comedian who was on the New Zealand Taskmaster who couldn't appear in the studio. I could see his face, but I've forgotten.
Oh, Toffinger.
Yeah, but that would be incredibly hard to spell. Anyway, if this if
Yes, yes. So Toffinger's that's Samoan, and
yeah
in Samoan a G is pronounced NG,
yeah
like in Toffinger. But
yeah
obviously a lot of Pākehā people or a lot of non-Samoan people might not know that. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it'd be hard to spell, and I think that it'd be more hilarious because obviously then you're watching a comedian panicking because A, they don't want to get it wrong, and B, they don't want to be insensitive to them, so that
Oh, yeah.
it,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
adds to it. But when
Yeah.
you're on the show and then when you watch it, do you realize that there's more people struggling spelling than you would think?
I yes, and I tell you what, it made me concerned about our school system,
Yeah,
particularly as an educator. But yes, I think yeah, spelling is I think we all learn it to a certain level
yeah,
and then you shut off your brain, right? Like you learn it up in school to a certain level and then you shut off your brain. And if you're not doing lots of reading still, and if you're not making an
yeah,
effort to expand your vocabulary, I probably haven't learnt the spelling of many words past
yeah,
doing spelling when I was 12. Like I
yeah,
probably genuinely don't. I probably haven't expanded my vocab or spelling that much.
yeah.
So yes, I'm not surprised most of us are terrible at it.
Yeah, and I don't know whether or not this will make you feel any better, but I'm very good at misspelling the word does because I get confused where the E should go. Sometimes I put it
Hmm.
before an S or after the S, and I get confused. What doesn't help is when you release something on the internet and you put it in the thumbnail or you spell it incredibly wrong, and you've sent it to that famous person that you was talking to, and then you realise, oh no, they've just realised my spelling mistake.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
definitely, but also there's definitely even the English language is doesn't make a lot of sense a lot of the time, right? And I know a lot of people who learn English as a second language struggle
yeah,
because yeah, as you said, like that should DOES could be doze, right?
yeah,
Um, yeah, so it's look, English isn't the best, but we try.
yeah, yeah. And when you're going on stage to do comedy, and let's see where this reference goes. Are you the type of person that if you've got a gig that evening, you spend all day writing the material and write it down in a notebook or on the notes app on your phone, or are you the type of person that and let's say I found this reference does the Billy Connolly where and who knows how accurate this is really, but where he walks on stage and says whatever he's thinking that moment, and then 20 minutes later he will have forgotten what he just said.
I'm definitely more Billy Connolly. I think that's the maybe the ADHD way. However, I would say that I don't spend all day writing the comedy, but I do spend all day feeling incredibly stressed about the
Yeah.
comedy. So there is I can't remember once I did a gig where I just went on stage. I didn't know what I was going to do,
Mm.
and as I was driving there, a Maroon 5 song came on, and I just thought do you know who I hate? Maroon 5. And
Yeah.
I went on stage and I just did a rant about hating Maroon 5, and that went really well. And
Yeah.
I wish I had recorded it
Yeah.
because it was so random. I couldn't tell you what I said.
Yeah.
I've never said it again. I'd never really thought that much about Maroon 5 previously.
Yeah.
But I just know that what is it, Adam Lambert? No, what's the guy's name?
Well,
Adam from I don't know. No, Adam
no.
Lambert's a different awesome musician.
Yeah.
Adam
Different.
from Levine, thank you. Adam Levine. Adam Levine just always seemed like a jerk to me.
Yeah.
He's always seemed like a jerk. And then I remember it came out that he was a jerk, and I was like, I knew it. I had that pegged.
Well,
I knew it.
you, you predicted it before.
So yeah, but I actually think I shouldn't have the confidence of just walking out and saying whatever.
Yeah.
I think that someone like Billy Connolly really earned that,
Yeah.
and worked very hard and really had his self-confidence and was uh, is very naturally funny. And so and also Scottish, and Scottish people are bloody hilarious.
Yeah.
So he had a lot going for him when he does improvised comedy like that. But yes, I actually am quite terrified of performing comedy. I think it's so scary. And my older brother always says to me, if you did it more, you'd be less scared. But I prefer to just be scared and not do it that much.
Yeah. And
Is that stupid? Yes.
yeah. But I do think that the and I think it works really well is when you've got an idea, but you don't really know what it'll form, and you just know the crux of it. So I've said this millions of times. When I do the stand up of the comedy online, I know what the subject matter will be. So if I say, for instance. Well, if I say blue stairs, I can then just go on and rant about stairs because I know the crux of the idea. I know what the essence is, and I think that it makes the comedy better because you're not overthinking about it. When you
Yeah.
do them, do you notice that you're not overthinking it and you can just let the comedy flow out of your mouth hole?
Yeah. What's your issue with stairs though? What's your beef with stairs?
Well, I think they should be banned and evaporated because what's the point of them? Not everyone can use stairs. I mean,
Well, true.
the escalator doesn't work either. That's still useless because there's not just one formal way, but a ramp works really well. It's just hills are terrible in the first place, but ramps work better because they're accessible for everyone, and you don't have to count how many
True.
stairs you're going up. You know, there's a place in Britain where it's got the world's longest set of stairs. And it's like someone sat there and counted that to make sure that. And it's like, what's the point in that? What are you going to do? Are you going to walk all the way back down them and just double check that you've counted it right? What's the point? So I just think
Yeah.
someone said to me once, in a lesson, they said you have to write about what would you do to improve the world, and I just said, well, I'll get a ray gun and burn stairs. It's just what's the point of
Well,
them?
I tell you, there's lots and lots of stairs in Wellington where I am at the moment because the whole city's built on a hill, and it's all very
Yeah,
inaccessible, and everyone has all these crazy stairs that are very difficult to get to their houses,
yeah,
to and from their houses. So yeah, you're right. I mean, we'd really struggle if everything was ramps because you'd have ramps that are about this
yeah,
steep. But you're right. It would be a lot more accessible. That is the future, isn't it?
yeah.
Like, yeah.
But in Scotland, they're also on a hill. The issue with them is that the road's not very it's apparently really bumpy. Couldn't tell you for a fact, but the massive the main
Yeah.
road that everyone moans about is very bumpy and it takes forever to get up these hills, and you get like 10,000 steps within 20 minutes.
Oh, yes. And I can guarantee that because
Yeah,
I used to live in Scotland and I've spent a lot of time in Edinburgh at the fringe
yeah,
festivals. And I can tell you, boy, oh boy, yes, there's a lot of steepness and there's a lot of unstable ground.
yeah,
And I actually once helped an older woman
yeah,
who, because it's cobblestones, full tripped and face planted really bad. Yeah, but I
yeah.
mean, it's beautiful and it's historic, but
Yeah.
it's not particularly accessible. And
Well,
it's, yeah.
I had heard a story.
Mm.
Don't remember his name, which is quite bad of me. But he's a comedian that runs a comedy club. But what he had done is he had decided as it's the most incredible gag ever. That I don't know what the mountain's called, but at the very top of the mountain hill thing, which
In Edinburgh,
you
Arthur's
know,
Peak, maybe?
yeah, Arthur's
Mm.
Peak, that's it. At the
Mm.
very top of it, he'd created a comedy club where he'd put one door. There's no walls, obviously, but he just put a door in there so that he could put on the mat where the entrance was. And he performed his show, and every so often, whilst he's performing, some tourists would come up and say, "Are we in the right place here? Is this where we're supposed to be?" Because they weren't just hiking up the hill, not noticing that they've created a comedy club within at the very top where there's only one door. But they've got the door frame, obviously, to keep the door in. So you have to walk through the door, even though you can walk in every other direction because it's not real. And I do think that's what's the word? I think that's dedication to the art
Yeah.
of comedy.
Ingenuity.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do love the Scottish. They're very funny, and that's yeah, that's awesome. That's inspirational actually. That makes me think we should do a comedy club up a hill
yeah.
here somewhere
But he's
because
got it
we
on the
have a
map
lot of
as well,
hills.
though. It's on the map. So he wanted to
Oh,
do
amazing.
just so when you Google it, it comes up and it gives you the directions to get there.
Yeah, great.
It adds to
Great. Could
it.
do an Edinburgh Fringe show. It'd be the most interesting one up the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, one of the things you've been up to recently, and when I say recently, I'm not gonna guess what day, but it's as recently as in the past, let's say, few days. I was gonna come up with a number, and then I realised that would take me forever to work it out. Now, when it got when what I'm on about is the New Zealand traces, but when it got announced that it was coming back, and then the application process came out, what was because I know from interviewing people from the UK creators that they want to keep the movie magic alive, which if you go to a quiz, it's film and television. So I don't agree with calling it movie magic. It'd be film magic if anything. But what was the application process like when you decided, oh, I remember watching, I quite like that. Oh, it's a new host. Let's give that a go.
Okay, so basically, a few years ago, they opened up applications for season two,
Mm,
and they did this. I think they opened them up in December or something. I can't quite
yeah,
remember. And they said they close February,
yeah,
say February the 1st. And so I think it was about mid-January, and I went to apply, and they'd already closed them. Like they'd been like, we got so many applications that they said it was going to be open for like 2 months, and then they closed them after
wow,
2 weeks. And I felt really annoyed, both at
yeah,
myself for being late and a last minute person, as always, because of course, since they opened, I thought, okay, note to self, apply for that.
yeah,
And so when I saw that it was coming back for season three, I was really keen to apply.
yeah,
But guess what? Again, I applied really late, but they didn't close off the applications, and the applications were still open. I actually didn't hear anything, but I'd heard from a few friends who had applied that they'd got rejected. So when I
yeah,
didn't hear anything, I thought, oh yeah, they're obviously already interviewing people. And so I haven't been chosen.
mm,
So I forgot about it.
yeah,
And then it was the week of filming that I got contacted and called
wow,
up and asked to be on it. Yeah, so I applied, and which was a simple application form, and then you
yeah,
sent in a video. But then, yeah, as I said, I didn't hear. And then the week that they were filming, I got contacted um, originally over Instagram by the host, actually, by Madeline Sami, who is friends with my brother. So
yeah,
I, met a few times. And so I don't know how they didn't have my contact info because I like gave it in
yeah,
the application form, but they were obviously, it was really last minute, and I think they were panicking. And she said, "Oh, traders people are asking for your details." And so I obviously shooted them straight
mm,
over. And I just arrived back in the country, actually from post Edinburgh Fringe last year. Um, and so I just come back from Greece
yeah,
specifically. And then they called me up the next day, and they were like, okay, we need to interview you tomorrow. And then I did an interview at like 7 a.m. And they were like, okay, you've got go to the doctor, you've got to get a doctor's certificate. And then I was really scared because I wasn't hearing back from my doctor.
yeah,
And they were like, well, you can't do it. Like we're filming in a few days if you don't hear back from your doctor. And they did hear back from the doctor, and then suddenly I was there to film it, and it was
Wow.
it was total whiplash. And I didn't have much time to think
Yeah.
or even adjust to the New Zealand time difference, or I didn't have time to sort sleeping pills, or I didn't have time to bring snacks with
Yeah.
me, or get new clothes, or makeup, or anything. I remember
Wow.
thinking, oh gosh, I wish I got a haircut. I remember getting there and going, oh, I should have got a haircut. But I only really had one day to kind
Yeah.
of prepare myself. And also because I'd just come back from the country, I'd left my flat and all my stuff was a mixture of at my parents' house, in a garage,
Wow.
and in a storage unit. So I was running around trying to find these clothes because they send you
Yeah.
this huge list of clothes and you may have different outfits for every day. And then you need stuff for different weather.
Yeah.
And then you need togs, sorry, bathing suit. And, so and I never managed to get gumboots, which is good because I actually didn't need gumboots in the
Yeah.
end. But yeah, I just ran around like a headless chicken trying to find stuff that I needed the
Wow.
day before. And then I was on like a 7 a.m. flight down south. It was really crazy.
Yeah.
And I almost didn't have time to think about it, which I think is good because I
Yeah.
think if I had too much time to think about it, I think I would have scared myself out of it.
Yeah. And I do think that if it wasn't for your brothers knowing both, then I do think that just doesn't I don't think she generally just does that just because she knew that she was in with them with you lot. She
Yeah.
knew that it was
It-
all right just to go, actually I'll deal with that. I'll do it.
yeah.
Because it's like,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah, totally. They also like, I mean, New Zealand's really small, and I also know the host. I also know Madeline's sister through
yeah,
other stuff, through friends. So
yeah,
New Zealand's incredibly small, and
yeah,
I feel like you could go into almost any room and be like, "Hey, does anyone have a contact for this random person we're trying to get in contact with?" And
yeah,
the odds are someone will say, "Oh yeah, I
yeah,
know their cousin" or
yeah,
something, which has
yeah,
even happened when they announced New Zealand Traders the lineup.
yeah,
We obviously didn't necessarily, some of us knew connections because some of us knew each other already.
yeah.
But there were people who messaged me and said, I know 4 people on the traders. And like there was a guy who was on who I didn't think I was connected to, and then he's my friend's cousin, turns out. New Zealand's a very small
Yeah,
country. So yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't take too long. If you need someone's contact info, you usually can get it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a radio show podcast. Who knows
Mm.
what it is called? Alice. I think it's called the Alice and James. It's Alice James and no, well, it can't be Alice and James because that's one person. Alice James and John Robbins, and because Alice James is Welsh and he does this thing called
Oh,
Cymru Connect, where they've got a listener, they come in and then he has like 30 seconds to try and work out how he knows that person. And 9 out of 10
amazing.
times he knows them because they went to school with a Welsh rugby player that knows his mum, and they've got a
Oh,
connection. And
yeah.
every time I hear the stories about the fact that New Zealand is so small, it always makes me think someone isn't cashing in on doing a, a New Zealand version of Cymru Connect because that would be like they'll be winning it every week, every
Oh,
day.
oh, definitely. I mean, I don't think there'd be much money in it, but yeah, definitely. I'm actually
Yeah,
wondering, I'm just looking up the Wales population because it's probably quite similar to
yeah,
New Zealand. Oh
I
yeah,
think
Wales is 3.2 million.
wow.
And New Zealand's at 5.5. So
So
we've got a lot more land. We've got a lot more land because New Zealand's about the size of the UK, or maybe Great Britain. I think New
yeah,
Zealand's about the size of Great Britain. But yeah, that's
yeah,
really funny. Then you could definitely do
yeah,
that here. It's
yeah,
so yeah.
yeah,
You can connect yourself to everyone, and I also anyone who's my age or 2 years older or 2 years younger who's from Nelson, I've always, which is my hometown, I've always known them. And if they're not in that age bracket, it means they're from Richmond or beyond, or they moved there in their teenhood. Because yeah, it's definitely a small nation, a
yeah,
small but mighty nation.
yeah.
Did
And
you know? Did you know up
oh,
until yesterday, New Zealand was undefeated in the Football World Cup? Sure, we haven't been much,
no, no, no,
but we hadn't lost a
didn't know
game
that.
until yesterday.
Wow. Well, I didn't know that, and whilst we're on the topic of football, I mentioned this several times, I think, but one of the things I do in my life is there's a program in Scotland and it's open to
Mm.
everyone because it's an open submission thing where you write jokes and then you've got a chance to get them on the show and you get written the brief. And last week was the Football World Cup special. Now, I don't know if you can probably tell from my background, I know nothing about football. I'm trying to write jokes about football, especially so there was some joke about there was some story about some singer I'd never heard of, and she had a song like called like something about miles or whatever it was. So the only joke I could think of was the worst joke I've ever written about the Proclaimers singing 500 miles. And a bloke getting lost and thinking he was hearing the wrong song. It was the worst joke I've ever written because I knew nothing about football. I'm staring and going, who's that? And then I know nothing about politics either, so it's a topical show. So knowing nothing
Mm.
about football, knowing nothing about politics, doesn't really help writing topical gags if I know
Oh
nothing
no.
about either. Um,
Yeah.
but what I do know as a clever fact is that if you're annoyed with someone and you're in the UK and you want to get rid of them, the furthest place you can send them is New Zealand. Because I looked that up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, nice. Yeah, we're on opposite side of the world.
yeah,
I think there's somewhere in France. I think it's France in Spain. Like if you shoot through to the other side of the world,
yeah,
I think you know, if, in theory, if you could go through the middle of the earth,
yeah,
I think you end up yeah, in France, probably in the ocean between France and the
yeah,
UK,
whatever that is.
whatever that's called. I
Yeah,
feel like I should know. Anyway.
the Atlantic, I'm gonna say, but that might be
Oh
wrong.
yeah, sure. The greater, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought there might be a channel. There's
yeah.
a some kind of name. Anyway, doesn't matter.
The Great Barrier Reef. Now, now, when you were deciding to apply for the Traitors and
Mm.
New Zealand, were you a fan of the universe of the Traitors beforehand?
Huge fan. Yeah,
Yeah,
huge fan.
yeah,
Huge fan. Yeah, I love it, and I've loved it for years. And actually, I became obsessed with it in um season one of the UK.
yeah,
Um, and it actually wasn't. It actually I was accessing it illegally because I'd read about it online. It was
yeah,
before it was actually aired in New Zealand.
yeah.
Um, and so I was watching it, and it was back when I had chronic fatigue a few years ago.
Mm.
Oh, so when would have this have been?
Well, I think the
Maybe the
first,
beginning of 2022. Does that
yeah,
sound right?
yeah, that does sound right.
2022?
Because
Yeah.
we're on the series five's about to start filming, and it's one a year. So
Yeah,
I think it is
I'm just gonna look that up
2022.
really. Gosh, suddenly I was like, gosh, Traitors is actually young, isn't it?
Well, I think
It's actually a very young show.
the format
Yeah.
is 2018 or something. I think the format's
Oh,
a lot older.
yeah, yeah, because it was
Uh,
a from another country.
yeah, Dutch. I
So
think it's Dutch.
actually Dutch. So the first season of I got that a bit wrong. It
Yeah,
was the end of 2022, which makes sense because
yeah,
I was watching it in our summer
yeah,
of 2022, which is when I had my chronic fatigue. Um, and I just mention it because at the time I was quite unwell, and I remember thinking, God, I'd love to be on this
yeah,
show,
yeah.
but obviously thinking that would never happen.
Mm,
But also I really I because I was staying at my friend's house, who's actually British and actually a big fan of Traders now,
mm.
but she didn't know about it at the time. Um, and when I told her I was going to be on it, she was screamed down the phone. That's my friend Laura, but I I basically like because I had my chronic fatigue, I had to rest a lot.
Yeah,
And I had to rest, yeah, and I enjoyed, I actually loved, like resting was quite hard because it was quite unsocial. And I remember being at Laura's house, and it was actually around, it was New Year's, it was over
yeah,
New Year's. And everyone's having fun, and I just would have to go back to my room to basically lie down because I'd be too tired.
yeah.
But that's why I loved like it brought such joy to my life suddenly when I found Traitors because it
Yeah.
was, you know, like
Brilliant.
I got FOMO from being away from my friends, but I
Yeah.
was like, oh great, I get to go watch Traitors.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I still season one UK will always be really close to my
Yeah.
heart because it was
Yeah.
just obviously dramatic and beautiful and Claudia's incredible and I really enjoyed the cast.
Yeah.
So yes, I just yeah, I became and I'm a huge, as I've already said, I'm a huge fan of Scotland. I'm like
Yeah.
obsessed with Scotland.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just
Yeah.
everything about it I loved. And yes, so I've been, you know, each season's obviously completely different, and I've loved some seasons and I've not liked some seasons and I've
Yeah.
not finished some seasons. But I've yeah, Canada, Ireland, US, uh,
India.
is there an India one?
There is an India one. It recently aired in the UK.
Oh,
It was on Amazon Prime in
oh,
India, and it's the only bit that annoys me with the UK broadcasting is the subtitles are really incredibly small because they've put on
oh, right,
because they're Hindi, and I don't quote me.
right.
There's a mixture of English and Indian because so every so often you hear
Mm,
an English word, but because the subtitles are so small, it takes you a good while to try and clock on, and it's really bright because it's like in a sand dune desert. It's in a palace instead of a castle, but it's all
oh,
it's all like
cool.
creamish colours. It's like you could burn
Oh,
your eyes. It's
wow.
that bright.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
And yeah, great. And so yeah, but there's, you know, many countries, many seasons.
yeah,
There's obviously the Australian one and the new Australian one that's coming up
yeah,
was filmed the week before us in the same place in Timaru down
yeah,
south. So and I think they used all the same challenges as well. So
yeah, yeah. They do that with the
yeah,
UK
it's
and
just
US.
yeah, yeah. And it's just been cool watching different seasons
Yeah,
over the years, and then obviously being part of it. The New Zealand one was intense, but like pretty incredible.
yeah.
And
Um,
it's just Julia the cat
now,
coming to visit.
ignoring the upcoming series because I don't know that bit of the fact anymore.
Mm.
But apart from Claudia Winkleman, the only non-actor to be the host of the English language version of The Traitors, because everyone else are actors. Some of them say that they perform it as Alan Cumming does it as a character. Siobhan McSweeney says her character is called Lady Muck. And so she does it as this character. She's not playing herself. Yes, they call her Siobhan and they say her by name, but she
Mm.
plays it as a character. But Claudia Winkham's the only non-actor. I don't know about the new Australian woman. But everyone else, Roger from well, it's called Doctor Doctor in everywhere else, but he's called the Heart Guy over here. Who he played a very bad doctor that got sent to a small town because he wasn't allowed to be a doctor anymore. He was in trouble. It was a surgeon, is the premise. He did hearts. He was a heart surgeon.
Mm.
That's why it's called the heart guy because we're very literal. But Claudia Winklewood is the only non-actor, which I always find fascinating because it's like, wow. But Alan Cumming was supposed to do the UK version, but he wasn't available. So they filmed the American version, and then they filmed the UK, but he wasn't available
Ah.
for those dates, and then they had to get Claudia in. And obviously, with Alan's version, he's brought his own dog. The dog is his own dog, and Fergus must get sacked. Fergus, who works on the grounds, must not
Mm.
be employed when the UK version being filmed because
Mm.
he seems to just never be there. He's just
Mm.
not knocking about. He's not available. Fergus might not be available. He must have something else to do. He must have other castles to gatekeep at because well, why not? But I think that what makes the Traitors interesting is it's in a format that I adore called competition reality, where it isn't the Real Housewives of Chicago or the Real Housewives of Dubai, which I hadn't heard of until watching the recent series of the American version, where there was a woman
Mm.
that left Britain to live in Dubai, and she became a Real Housewife of Dubai. Um, and she moans a lot about saying, "Oh, why the housewives are all against each other? Ooh, ooh!" And then they call someone from Survivor a game player. It's like, what? You're in Scotland. Just I don't care that what's his face is a really good player at Survivor. Who cares? Not me. But do you think? Well, why do you think that New Zealand, the traitors, especially New Zealand, why do you think that it works so well? Do you think it's because people love to backstab and lie, or do you think that people are just too invested in the format and they don't care about their own personalities?
Well, oh, good question. No, I think New Zealanders are definitely not backstabbers generally. And I'd say New Zealanders love generally, I mean, you obviously can't generalize a whole country, but I think generally people are we're quite a competitive
Yeah,
nation, enjoy games, like giving things a crack. Like it's a big, people will give things a go.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think uh yeah, I don't know. It just I think I've heard or read online that people think like the New Zealanders are chill and
yeah,
nice compared to international seasons,
yeah,
and I'd agree with that. I think generally part
yeah,
of people's nature is being, like I think we're a
yeah,
friendly nation, and people like getting on and we like having a laugh.
yeah.
Yeah, so it probably doesn't make for as dramatic a TV as the producers hope for, but hopefully
Yeah.
it's dramatic enough. Yeah.
Well, I do think what makes the New Zealand version really dramatic, and without spoiling anything, it's the incredible Sam Smith decided to get a monk haircut. I think that's incredibly dramatic because you're like, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? Does he really want to do it? Does he really want to go back to his family looking like that? Is he sure about that he was?
Oh,
He's very much sure about that.
I mean, I mean, that's not hard. That's not a
Yeah.
challenge. Sam Smith getting a weird haircut that he can immediately shave off the next week, like that's not. And I mean, somebody, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think New Zealand traders has gone a long way since season 1, but the idea
Yeah.
that somebody getting a tattoo is permanently is
Yeah.
equated with a man getting a weird haircut. I mean, yeah, yeah,
So
incomparable,
yeah,
incomparable,
and I just
incomparable. Gosh, I'm back to proving that we're bad spellers when I don't
yeah.
know the word.
Well,
Incomparable? Yeah.
but I think what works really well is that the format really works. So
Hmm.
when you hear the story of Claudia Winkleman not wanting to do it until they then sent her the original version and then she was hooked, it proves the fact that it's not about who hosts it, it's about the format that really works. So when you
Hmm.
ask a fan of the Traitors, as we know now, is that they're not a fan of a particular version, they're a fan of the format. It's like Taskmaster. If you're a fan
Yeah.
of one Taskmaster, it might depend on the lineup, on the
Yeah.
person's preference on the lineup, but they like the setup because it's sort of 9 out of 10 times similar format. And
Hmm.
do you think that
Hmm.
that what that's what works about TV is that it's not about the people involved, it's about the format, why people are hooked to it, because you can have a program that was mega successful. So it's like in the Netherlands, there's a program called Let's Play Ball, which I don't know much about it, but it's a comedy program where one of the balls from Total Wipeout or Wipeout, as known internationally, is involved in some activity. And that was popular in the Netherlands, and now we're trying it
Hmm.
in the UK. But do you think it's because of the format rather than the people involved?
I mean, I think obviously, yes, the format, but I would say that gets you maybe 60 or 70% there.
Yeah,
But I think the people are very important because
yeah,
I know there's um I love I love Taskmaster, for
yeah,
example. But there's seasons I love a lot more than others based
yeah,
on both the tasks and also, but the cast is a big one.
yeah,
And actually I've just introduced Taskmaster to a friend of mine, And she only wants to watch the seasons where there's someone she already knows and likes.
Yeah.
And I think I'll manage to get her into the other seasons, but I think she already has been like, oh yeah, this season's I like this way
Yeah.
more than that season because of
Yeah.
this person or because of the dynamic. So I definitely think, yeah, obviously the format gets you a lot of the way there,
Yeah.
but the people is really crucial as well. And when I think about and but also with something like Traders, it's not only the people, it's also what ends up
Yeah.
happening, right? And some do I think our season of Traders is the best season of all time? No. Don't tell them I said that. No, but and that's due to a lot of factors, and
Yeah.
obviously a lot of what happens is chance. But do I think it's better than Australia season 2? Yes. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so obviously things could go wrong within the format.
Oh yeah.
And I think obviously you hope the producers making the show need to be a lot more switched on
Yeah.
sometimes than others, because sometimes it plays out beautifully, and other times I can imagine they're sitting there going, "Oh crap, we were hoping that wasn't going to happen."
Yeah.
So yes, it definitely, I think, and also our show is not, we have shorter episodes and we
Yeah.
have less episodes, so it's also obviously challenging for the producers and the editors to get it all the content. There's
Yeah.
so much content, and we film a whole day, and then that gets squeezed into 43 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas in the UK, that can be an hour 10, or like they've obviously got more flexibility with the
Yeah.
time of it, and they also have more episodes. So yeah, so I think the format does a lot of the work,
Yeah.
but definitely doesn't do all of the work. And I can imagine that, as I said, there's seasons of the Traders that I haven't finished. There's something that's annoyed me, or or there's a person, or I'm really sensitive. I'm neurodivergent, so I've always been very sensitive to
Yeah.
when um people think the neurodivergent person is a weirdo, which is something that can happen in Traders. And to an extent, I felt that a bit myself, but
Yeah.
it's a paranoid game, so I think a lot of people feel on the outside, a lot of people feel like they might be a weirdo. But yeah, so definitely, I think maybe I actually said 60 to 70%. I
Yeah.
reckon I'm going to say the format is 50%. I'm
Yeah.
changing it. The
Yeah.
more I'm thinking about it, the more I actually think the people, and not only the people, the cast, but what the crew are then doing
Yeah.
behind the scenes to adjust to what's playing out,
Yeah.
is the other 50%.
Yeah. And before we move on, what was I gonna say? Well, that's what happens when I just start speaking. Before we gently move, that's it. Before we gently move on,
Mm.
you mentioned there about watching Taskmaster. Now, I don't know if you've heard of a bloke who is very famous for his tash, Mike Wozniak. I don't know who I read an article said people get confused with Mike Wazowski. Um, but
I
Mike
love
Wozniak.
Mike Wozniak.
Now,
I'm a huge fan.
if in the first series of the Quebec version, which is Canada, there is a bloke who looks like, and I said this to someone when I interviewed them. We talked about the fact that he looks a lot like the French sort of Canadian equivalent of Mike Wozniak.
Ah,
He's got the appearance of what would Mike Wozniak look like if he was from Canada and spoke French. Because this bloke has got the
yeah.
he's got the twiddly bits of the mustache, and he really resembles. And it's the most hilarious thing you can think of. Because once you notice Mike Wozniak, you can't watch it
Mm.
without seeing Mike Wozniak, even though it's not Mike
Yeah.
Wozniak. You're like, oh, I've just ruined that for me now. Oh. But I
I'll
do,
have to check that out. Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I haven't watched Quebec Taskmaster, so I have to check it out.
It's
That sounds
very
cool.
it's very well, it's very French, obviously, but it's one of those things where it's really interesting, and we will move on in a second. But I found out recently that the woman that hosts the Canadian version, she also does the Quebec version of The Traitors.
Mm.
She also does it in French. She's like a
Wow.
multi-talented woman. So it's like
Yeah.
one minute she's like, "You're a traitor. Oh, you're the traitor. Oh, let's win 1,000." whatever currency it is in Canada. And then next minute she's finished filming that, and then she's got to film a new set of people, but she's only doing it in French. And now
Wow.
she's probably the only person that knows how to sound menacing saying the word "Are you a traitor or are you faithful?" in both English and in French. Because Alan Cumming does it perfectly in Scottish, and I can't think of any other way of saying traitor because you have to say it with a fake Scottish accent. That was horrific. I didn't plan on saying that at all. Well,
No,
I
it was
do,
great. I loved it.
I do apologise to
Traitor. He does.
Scotland.
I did say. I thought that sounded like him.
Yeah,
Traitor. Yeah, he's got a beautiful voice.
yeah. Uh, so as we swiftly move on before we get into a dodgy territory there, now people have got to this point in the interview and gone, "Wow, this has been amazing," and I say, "Oh, thank you," but yes, it's not about me. I'm not a narcissist. Now, for anyone that's watching and they're really intrigued and they're eager, what advice, from your opinion, would you give them if they wanted to get into the world of comedy?
Oh, what advice? I would say watch a lot of different comedians online or live. I mean, preferably live. See what works, what doesn't, see what the audience responds to. I think finding your kind of comedic voice or your vibe um, is important. So if you think about what kind of comedian you want to be, what style, what kind of stuff you want to say, and I think the best way to do that is by watching a lot of comedy. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I just say watch a lot of comedy and read. There's also, I mean, there's books. I've never read one, but there's books apparently you can read, but definitely watching comedy and seeing live comedy is great because get you can get a gauge for the local audience
Yeah.
before you get up yourself. And then trying a open mic that's for newbies, like a raw, we call it raw quest, or there's raw meat Monday here where it's like on Monday night it's new people or it's new material,
Yeah.
and so it's a very generous crowd is another thing, because you don't want to go up there and then the audience get booed or get ripped apart by the audience, which i'm
Yeah.
sure I'm sure wouldn't happen in most places. It definitely doesn't happen in New Zealand unless you were to be offensive. But yeah, and just try in a safe, friendly environment like
Yeah.
that, so you don't get scared off completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is I've not read it, but I've heard on the grapevine because it's not generally available in new, but there's a really good Jimmy Carr book about the history of jokes. So it's a history of comedy. He writes it with a historian, but it's like dissects what is a joke, who was the first person
Oh
to tell a
yeah.
joke, and how do you craft the joke and what makes your favorite joke a joke. And I heard a lot of comedians in the UK say that it's like the Bible of comedy because it dissects why is crossing a road funny, why is a knock knock
Right.
funny, and it explains each individual aspect of if you knock once, why is it not funny if you just go knock? Why is that not
Mm.
funny? Why is it more funny if you go knock knock? Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, interesting. I guess yeah, that's the thing too, is like what are you going to be, are you a joke writer,
yeah,
or are you a different type of performer?
yeah,
Um and yes, if you want to be a good joke writer, studying how jokes are formed and jokes are made and what's successful and what sounds are funnier and that
yeah,
type of thing is all really great. Or if you want to, go over here and be a clown and do more character stuff and be silly,
yeah,
just or if you want to do a puppet
yeah,
or do stuff with slideshows
yeah,
or make visual gags, just working out what you think is funny and what
yeah,
other people think is funny and just giving it a crack, really.
yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, and so stepping away from the world of entertainment, as I'm going to call it, because
mm.
we're opening everything we spoke about during this interview. Uh, Now, one of your other occupations, other than being both funny and able to deceive
Excuse me.
the world on the traitors, and obviously play a good game of the traitors. How do
I
you
don't, I don't know if you watch I don't know if you watch the trailers. I don't think I ever deceive anyone on that.
well? Well,
Yeah,
technically, just by being in the room, you deceive people because no one knows who's a
true,
traitor who isn't. So
true. Wow,
just by
true.
being there, you don't have to say anything. It's like well, the only way to really deceive someone is when someone says to you, I am a traitor and this, I am a faithful," and they start laughing. And you definitely know at
Yeah.
that point you might want to question it. Um,
Oh, I think that probably
but
happened.
Lisa Kudrow was on the Corey Winkleman chat show thing, and she had said that in the third series of The Comeback, Valerie Cherish does a very small section where she's on the traitors for like 30
Yes.
seconds, and apparently Linda, I can't remember which series the UK version was, what inspired her to be a really bad traitor. And so then caught and then Lisa Kudrow met Linda on the Cordy Winkleman show because Cordy Winkleman went, "Here's Linda," and then Linda came out and they had a
Oh
conversation
my
about the
gosh, I
fact
didn't
that
know that. I
so
love
Linda
Lisa
didn't know that.
Kudrow.
Lisa Kudrow never said it out loud before, and so they hugged and met for 30 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah,
I've been obsessed with Lisa Kudrow since I was a kid. I love her and I
yeah.
loved the comeback.
Well,
And I was obsessed with it as a teen. It was so cool that it's come back
uh,
twice. I
yeah.
owned the complete, what at the time was the complete only season,
Wow.
season one. And
Yeah.
then the next season came out, what, 18 years later or
Yeah.
something. And now there's a third season.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Speaking of, so she's character comedy, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she's a great example of a character comedian.
She is. Now, back to my point because I've got to have this point is how did you get
Okay.
in to educating the youth or or people in general? How did you get into the world of teaching?
Being a teacher.
Yeah,
Well, you go to university and next thing you know, you're a teacher.
yeah, yeah,
I just basically, I always liked the idea of being a teacher.
yeah,
I didn't foresee performing arts being a full-time paid career for
yeah,
me, and it's not. It has been for periods of my life. It has been. I've done a kids tour that I was employed for a whole year. But yeah, I at high school I was a really, I was in all the school clubs and I was a really
yeah,
enthusiastic leader and student, and lots of teachers really encouraged me to be a teacher.
yeah,
And yeah, I became a teacher. I enjoy schools, I enjoy kids, youth. So
yeah,
yeah, it's great. I
yeah,
just relief teach now.
yeah,
And I also work in art festivals, so I kind of jump around and do lots of
yeah,
stuff. But yeah, it's obviously a great profession. It's a hard profession,
yeah,
but it's yeah, a
yeah.
great one.
So yesterday, well, on Monday, the 22nd of June, for anyone watching, I did an interview with someone, and the question arose, and you probably know the answer to this. If they call it night school, why is regular school not called morning school or mid-afternoon school? Why is it on? Why do you only call night school, not call the rest of it any other version of it?
Are you asking legitimately, or are you setting up a joke?
Oh, no, I'm asking legitimately. I'm asking
Okay.
this I mean, it could be both, but I'm asking it legitimately.
Yeah. Okay, great. I would say that because school is OG school, right?
Yeah,
It's like how the Traders UK, even though it wasn't the first one, is kind
yeah,
of the Traders,
yeah,
and New Zealand Traders is Traders NZ. I
yeah,
feel like it's the same idea where day school is OG school,
yeah,
and night school was a random thing that came after. That's my
yeah,
assumption.
yeah.
Everything can go back to Traders, you
Yeah,
see?
and I think they call the UK version the Traitors because I think if you translate the original title, I don't think it translates to Traitors.
Yeah,
I think it
true. Yeah.
translates to something else. So
Mm.
it's like with most versions of Taskmaster is either a translation of the word Taskmaster or it's something else. So in Sweden they call it Bestie Test because and I'm not gonna say but Taskmaster means something else in
Oh,
Sweden.
right. Aha.
But
Oh, yeah.
it's got a word for an anatomy, a part of an anatomy of a man. Is all I'll say. Right,
Oh,
yeah,
right, right,
yeah.
right,
So
right.
the word
Okay, I
master
get
is
it.
still master. It's just it's the word task is the first bit.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay,
Um
interesting. The more you know.
Yeah, the more you know. Um, Sometimes I regret knowing these things, but hey ho. So as we draw our interview to a close, we've had some laughs, we've had some treachery, and we've had some teachable moments. Uh, that's the greatest thing I've ever said, and I'm never going to top that. Well done, me. So as we draw steadily close to the end of this interview, and as the plane turns around and travels the other way, um, another good one. Without giving away your home address, or your place of residence, uh, both work for this gag. Where can people track you down on the interwebs or the internet, as some people like to call it?
Well, mainly just on Instagram. To be honest, I do a terrible job at it, but my Instagram is Maria Williams, but it's spelled Maria William Z, instead of
Yeah,
an S,
yeah,
because there was already a Maria Williams, and I don't want to be Maria Williams
yeah,
4,373. So
yeah.
I'm Maria Williams Z.
Yeah, that sort of happened to me. There was already a Tom Mason out there on some of the social media platforms. So I had to call myself official Tom Mason, and then it realized
Right.
the reason why official Tom Mason existed because I spelled the word official wrong. So that
Oh, wow.
I mixed an extra I. So
Oh, great.
on Twitch, I had to add an underscore because someone was already called official Tom Mason spelled correctly. Uh, and
Right.
I always go curse you underscore because I despise, and I always say it's the silent letter in the name. It's the
Mm,
silent underscore. Because
nice.
some letters are silent and an underscore should be burnt. Because why should it exist? So there we have it. We've done it once more. Well done, me. Yes, there'll be more interviews coming soon. So keep your eyes peeled. Not for too long, because I've heard you will have to go to A&E if you do that for too long. It could hurt. If your eyes start going red, please stop it. I'm not an expert on these things, but just safety first. Thank you for letting
Mm.
me interview you.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Can I just say something though?
Go on.
When you talked about Mike Wozniak having on Taskmaster having a guy in the Montreal one that looked like him,
Yeah.
I thought you were going to allude to the fact that people say I look like my brother Paul, but in a wig.
Oh, no, I wouldn't have thought of that. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Well, thank you for not thinking that because that's terrible for my self-esteem.
I mean, to be fair, to be fair, I wouldn't, if I hadn't known, I wouldn't have thought you were siblings. Which I would say that's a
Great,
compliment. Um,
great.
so, so there we have it. Thank you guys for watching, and there'll be more from me because why not? I mean, there'll only be no more from me if you stop watching. So, it
Hmm.
choose your own battles.